Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So we got our first data from the 2024 presidential election, mainly revolving around these mail-in ballot requests that we see across several key states. They were through the roof in 2020. It benefited Democrats. They dropped in 2022 as the pandemic was ending, and obviously you have lower turnout in a midterm election, but still the Republican number of requests dropped actually faster, at a faster rate than the Democrat number of requests. And when you have less ballots flying all around, all over the place, usually that means that there's going to be less room for any possible irregularity in terms of the election. And obviously that's good for Republicans overall, because we understand how Democrats typically prefer the vote by mail system. But I did want to touch base on the current data we have and look at it and see, is it good for Republicans? Because we know that the election, it takes 270 to win. It's going to come down to several of these swing states here. You know, you could debate some of the margins of some of these other states if they're lean or they're likely, but there's 7 real battleground states. Some are more Republican leaning than others, like North Carolina. Some lean a little bit more to the left, like Michigan. Doesn't necessarily change the fact that they're all up for grabs this election cycle. And we have data, and we talk about the pathway for Trump, the most easy pathway being Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia. He can do it on the eastern seaboard, get to 270. Well, we have data out of those states. We don't really have much data that we've seen out of the others, but those 3 states could be crucial, and we have data out of all of them. Is it going to look good for Trump? We'll take a look at it, but first, really quickly want to tell you guys about redeaglepolitics.com. If you guys want exclusive videos every week that will not be posted on the main channel, you guys got to sign up for $5 a month or 16 cents a day. You guys get all these exclusive videos in the catalog. You guys also get access to the Discord server as well as all of my articles in the newsletter. But most importantly, we have merch. We finally got merchandise on the shop again for the first time in a couple of years. The 2024 election drop is here. We've got the Trump bullet design, the America First design, the Make America Gain Again design. We've got t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, tank tops, posters, you name it. We've got all this and more at shop.redeaglepolitics.com. The link is in the description and pinned comment down below. So we've got data, recent data, out of all of these major swing states, at least in terms of the 3 that could dictate the outcome. Because if Donald Trump wins all of them, there is no path for Kamala Harris to 270, and we have data out of Pennsylvania. And you look at the mail-in request data now compared to 2022. It's in an interesting comparison because you would expect more now. The pandemic in 2022 was pretty much waning. It wasn't like Democrats were afraid to necessarily vote in person. And you look at this, but still they do prefer the mail system. Democrat requests were leading Republican requests by a substantial amount at this time. And of course, the requests go up, and we know that, but there were, so many requests in 2020 to the point where Democrats established a 1 million plus voter lead in the mail-in count, whereas Republicans, a lot of them wait until they vote in person, possibly leave some off the table in the process. But you look at 2024, that Democrat advantage is basically not really, shining through for them. They have a lead. There's more requests now than there were in 2022. That's understandable because 2022 was a midterm year, but not by much. Meanwhile, Republicans have actually netted more raw requests now compared to 2022. They're up 85% compared to 2 years ago. Democrats are only up 18.55%. So when you look at this, it just shows multiple things. One, Republicans are, more likely to take advantage of the early voting system than before, which is good because you have to play their game to beat them at their game, and then down the stretch find these voters and, the places that matter in the state who have waited. And you have a lot of people like truckers, for example, in Pennsylvania. They, in many cases, are going to be out of state. They can't get to the polling place. So especially for them, you don't like the mail-in system. If you don't trust the mail or whatever, just deliver it at the county office, election election office, you name it, that works too. But we do need people voting early if they know they're not going to be able to make it on election day, and banking more votes is crucial for victory. Now, people will say, well, it was down in 2022 and Democrats did well. Well, part of that was the issue of candidate quality and, a lot of these Trump-only voters staying home. Some of them voted Republican for Congress, but then also voted for Fetterman and Shapiro for whatever reason. It's just the way these things work. You can't compare midterm years to presidential years necessarily in terms of the end results, because, you're not always voting in the same election as somebody, in a different state. For example, the North Carolina Senate race went very differently than the Pennsylvania Senate race for various reasons. And the governorships in Florida went very different from the governorship race in Kansas. Actually, Kansas was like 20 points to the left. So it's just how these things work. But still, mail-in requests are down from 2020, and they're also not really up a significant amount from 2024. And that means that Democrats, there's less votes banked. They'll have to get a lot of these people out to vote on election day. It's more resources, you name it. Is that really something that bodes well for them? Yeah, I would say it's not bad for the Republicans. I mean, there's a lot we don't know, but there were a lot of mail-in requests that we saw that were banked early on the Dem side in 22. It kind of slowed down. And for 2024, you're kind of seeing something that possibly could be similar. And that means it does come down to an election day turnout sort of ordeal, more so than before, which does help Republicans, especially if more of them are banking their votes. And where's the real enthusiasm for Kamala at this stage in the game that we were promised? It's not quite there, at least not in these requests. It's not to say that she can't win or that she can't win Pennsylvania. We got to fight for it. But still, this is not bad data for Republicans at all. It's good data. And you look at a state like North Carolina, for example, and you could see this here because that's another state. You talk about the mail-in ballot requests and where they're at. They are down in terms of the total percentage of the pie. They're down 10% from 2020. On net, they're down 13. And from 2022, they're down 12. So already you see this here. And it shows more Republicans in terms of the share of that pool that's voting early. You have more Republicans there, less Democrat votes that are banked overall. And Republicans did well in the state in 2022, compared to a lot of these other swing states. So that's even better news for Republicans if they're doing better than 2022. And in terms of the independent vote in North Carolina, typically it does swing, more to the right than not, but still, the ones that are voting by mail, those probably do benefit the Democrats to a certain degree. But still, this is also good news when you look at it, and the requests are way down overall. Democrats so far, in terms of requests, they've only netted 25,000 requests over the Republicans. It's not bad for Trump, and of course we have a long way to go, but a lot of people do request early, and you're not going to see as many mail-in ballots flying around, which is good. And Republicans, where they can, they'll be voting early more often, and they'll be voting early in person. And that's also why Donald Trump is front-loading a state like North Carolina. People are like, why is he going there so much if it's supposed to be like a lean Republican or whatever? Because early voting starts soon. Same thing with Pennsylvania, but that's a lot more of like a razor-thin toss-up. We also have numbers out of Georgia right here, and this is from about a week ago, but the same thing does persist. When you talk about requested absentees, 80,000. From 2020, it was 806,000. So they're down 90% in the state of Georgia. And when you saw mail-in ballot requests down significantly in Georgia in 2022, as I think the total amount was around 325,000, we could even see lower request totals than that. But you did see Republicans improve. They did a lot better in the state of Georgia. And we got to keep chasing ballots for sure, find our low propensity voters, get them out to vote, early in person, election day. Even some of them, if they have to vote by absentee, they need to vote by absentee if that's their only way to do it. You got to make sure we get people out and voting regardless. And also what this means for this state, Pennsylvania and North Carolina, these are states that will likely count quicker. And it's possible we'll know the result in all three of these states by election night. And I think Georgia, North Carolina, they probably could be called before midnight on the East Coast. And if Donald Trump wins both of them, that's going to put him at 251. So Pennsylvania, that will be the state that could determine the outcome. And if Republicans keep up what they're doing in the state, get that ground game going, get those voters out to vote, look at Pennsylvania. If that goes Republican, Kamala Harris could win the remaining 4 states on this map. I'm not saying it would be likely for her to do so. She might not win any of them. But if Donald Trump gets all 3 of these states, it's over. That's why there's that focus on those 3 states. And when you look at this data, you could say there's a lot we don't know, and that's true. But you can't say this is bad for Trump, regardless of whatever you do, regardless of whatever pretzel you try to twist yourself into. It's just not going to work out. It is good data for Trump. It just doesn't tell us the full story. We'll have to wait and see. But even from 2022, you're looking at who's requesting more. Percentage-wise, it's more and more Republican, and there's less absentees overall. That's great news because you didn't see the same thing in 2022 in a place like Pennsylvania or even North Carolina. Was relatively stagnant. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.